Is it now time to rejoice and declare that the AI character consistency messiah has arrived? In this video, we're going to be diving into Kling's new Elements feature that solves a lot of things, or potentially will solve a lot of things. I'll explain what that means as we get into the video. That brings us one step closer to be able to create true narrative AI films without ever having to have stepped foot on a movie set, literally doing all of this from the comfort of your home. What's going on, everyone? Paul Donis Maximus here. Welcome to the AI Filmmaking Advantage, where here we talk about how to make and monetize AI film production. And before we get into today's video, I do want to announce that the AI Cinematographer's MidJourney Playbook is now available for enrollment. In fact, a lot of the prompts that you'll see me using in this particular video, at least for the images, come from my cinematic prompt MidJourney structure format that I actually teach you in the training itself, along with giving you access to the actual prompts that I use for my AI filmmaking endeavors. So I want to say thank you to everyone who's enrolled in the training thus far. There's lots more to come. I even added a lot of bonus training that I didn't even anticipate would be part of the training when I planned this out, and you'll be getting all of those cool bonuses at no extra cost to you. So for more information on the AI Cinematographer's MidJourney Playbook, just scan the QR code on your screen or click the link below the video for more details. So again, in this video, I'm going to be showing you the extensive testing that I've done with the Kling Elements feature, and I would hazard to say that this is going to be the most thorough video that you find on YouTube on this particular topic. I've actually watched some of the other videos created by big YouTubers on the platform, and because their channels are structured in such a way that they're just reporting news, basically they're just reporters, most of what they deliver is more of a drive-by type reporting of these releases and features. That style doesn't allow them to do a much deeper dive and in-depth analysis of the actual features that they're covering, and some of that is not their fault. A lot of them are not actually filmmakers, so their knowledge is mostly surface level. So with those creators, you get what you get. As a filmmaker, it is imperative that I understand the tools and features coming out to understand if these tools and features will in fact help me to be able to achieve the cinematic narrative filmmaking pursuits that I am clearly trying to achieve on this channel. And the one thing I will say for starters is that the Kling Elements feature is definitely a step in the right direction. It's already solving for a few things, character consistency being one, and then another thing that is very important to narrative filmmaking is being able to literally reskin and accessorize your AI characters. And if you think about a video game, what options do you have for your characters? You can change their clothing, you can change the weapons they use, you can change their hairstyles, and most importantly, that look is going to look consistent throughout the game. As I'm going to show you, we now have the option to literally go into MidJourney, design weapons for your character, and put those weapons in the hand of your AI consistent character. Now with that said, this Elements feature from Kling, again, is solving for a lot of things, but in some ways it seems that we've taken a huge step back from where we just were with Kling 1.6. If you remember, Kling 1.6 did something that a lot of the other video generation apps are still struggling with, which is improved prompt adherence. The prompt adherence was so good, in fact, that at the end of the billing cycle, I ended up with a bunch of credits that rolled over because I didn't have to spend a lot of time re-rolling my videos in order to get a usable video. Not so much with the Elements feature, and again, I understand this is a new release. It's going to take them some time to tweak and actually make it a lot better, but again, it's great, but I feel that we've taken a large step back, almost back to Kling 1.5 even. Now I'll show you exactly what I mean in this video as we get into it. And with that said, because I did a lot of testing, I spent literally over 1,000 credits on just testing this feature. You're literally going to see my thought process as I learn how to prompt for this new feature. This video is going to be a little bit on the longer side, but as always, I'll add the timestamps to the description of this video as well as in the comments, but I would highly advise you to watch this video from beginning to end. So with that said, lots to cover. Let's get right into the video. Now, in what's becoming a tradition on this channel, let's actually watch the demo video from Kling themselves so that we can understand what the feature is supposed to do, which will allow us to measure the results that we get against what Kling is showing us is possible, albeit the results that they're going to be showing are highly cherry-picked. Now, one thing that I want to point out early on, which is something that I learned as I went along, is that it's going to be very important how you structure your prompts. As you see right here, this generation contains 3 elements, and don't worry, we're going to get into all of that in a minute. It says a cartoon-styled grandpa, that's element 1, drinks coffee, that's element 2, at a cafe, which is element 3. So pin that somewhere in your memory, and let's go over to Kling and try this thing out. Okay, so after watching a few other creators make videos around this topic, I think I'm going to be bringing you the most in-depth and comprehensive walkthrough of this new feature. And with that said, let's just go ahead and get started. So, as you can see right here, it looks like Kling has already shipped a new feature, this image reference 1.5, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to go straight to here where it says elements. We're going to click that. And this is where you get into adding your, I would say, ingredients in order to make your outputs. If we highlight this here, it says upload 1 to 4 images, select the subjects. It can be people, animals, objects, or scenes, and you want to add these images as elements. You also want to describe their actions and interactions. A video will be created based on the elements and prompts. And with that said, you're going to want at least 2 images in order for this feature to be worthwhile to you, because otherwise, if you're just uploading 1 image, then that's just straight up image to video. The elements piece comes into play when you're uploading 2 to 3 to 4 images. And before I forget, this feature is only available in Kling 1.6. Kling 1.6 is their latest and greatest model, so do keep that in mind. Now, what I'm going to be doing is showing you some of the generations that I've already run, and here's the reason why. So I was all excited for this feature. I came over to Claude and I came into one of my projects that I created, and I told Claude, give me at least 10 prompts using my standard MidJourney prompt structure. If you're interested in learning about my standard MidJourney prompt structure, be sure to check out the AI Cinematographer's MidJourney Playbook. Link to that training is in the description below this video. But what I wanted it to do is to first describe an image that I created in the past. I created this image with Flux. I had just only found out today that Claude AI now has the ability to analyze photos like ChatGPT does, which is the reason why I mostly use ChatGPT for that, is because for the longest, ChatGPT was the only AI software that could analyze images. Anyway, found out Claude can do it despite being subscribed to Claude forever. Dropped the image in here, told it to give me some ideas for various scenes throughout the interior of this spaceship that I wanted my AI character to visit. It gave me that list, and then I said, okay, give me my standard MidJourney prompt structure for that, because I was going to take these prompts over to MidJourney, which I did, and start generating a bunch of images to take them over into Kling and start running the test. Now, here's the problem that I ran into. Again, this is a very new feature, and you're taking 2 images. As you can see, this is one of the images I generated in MidJourney, and this is another one with my consistent character that I actually made in Flux via FreePic. Because this is a new thing, and because you're taking 2 different images and combining them into one, the generations are now back to taking much longer. As an example, pretty much any and every generation that you run using this elements feature is going to start out at 10 minutes as of this video. Now, those of you who have been using Kling for a little bit and started off with the older models, especially 1.5, then you remember that it took just as long, if not longer, just to get image generations from the older models of Kling. The second thing that I need to make you aware of, because this is a new thing, and because you've got the AI doing some things that it had never done before, we've somewhat slid backwards to where the prompt adherence is not as good as it was, which is Kling 1.6 without elements. If you've seen my 2 previous videos on Kling, then in those videos you heard me singing Kling's praises, along with showing you examples of how the prompt adherence was much better, how I was actually able to get usable videos, literally running the prompt either once or twice, and in the process saving a bunch of credits since I didn't have to rerun the prompts over and over again to get a usable video. But with Kling 1.6 and elements, we've taken a huge backslide on prompt adherence. Here is the first example. This image that I generated in MidJourney is supposed to be a futuristic spaceship bridge interior. I'm not going to read the entire prompt. I just want to give you an idea of what's going on with the image itself. So I uploaded that image into Kling as the first element. I also took this image that again I generated in FreePic with the Flux model, and you're going to want to do something like this. If you click this right here, this allows you to isolate the image to what you want to focus on. As you can see right here, it says select the element. For optimal results, drag and select the element as a reference. Please select only one element in an image. No need to select if using the entire image as a reference. So I only care about my consistent character Danny from this image. That's why she's isolated like this. And again, all you do is you drag these around, or you can crop it like that. But again, I only wanted her. I didn't want all this other stuff going on in the background. And for this image, I didn't mess with it at all because, again, as it says, no need to select if using the entire image as a reference. So with those two images uploaded, you then have to move on to the next step, which is to add a prompt. And check this out. As you can see right here, next to prompt, it says required. Now, you may ask, what's that all about? I'm going to remove this just right quick. And as we see right here, it says, please describe the actions of the elements or the interactions between the elements. And they say, check out the Help Center for best practices. Long story short, you're not going to upload images and elements and then hit the generate button. Because if you remember, normally, if you're just using the standard image to video setting, you can run image to video generations without adding a prompt. Not so with the elements feature. Again, it says prompt required, and I'm going to add the prompt back that I used. Now, before we start running through these generations that I made, I said all of that. I went through all of that spiel with you to say this. Because of all of those things and that long ass rant, I got to maybe 3 or 4 images that I generated in MidJourney just because it was taking so goddamn long. And on top of the generations taking so goddamn long, I found myself burning through a ton of credits because the outputs of the generations were fucking up left and right. So I hope you've got that context. I've got lots of them that I'm going to run through with you here, but I could not run through all of the ones that I really wanted to run through because, again, it just took so long, and the outputs that generated from all of that work were really not all of that great, as we'll actually demonstrate with the first output. So as you see right here, the prompt says tracking shot as we follow her into the control room. So with this image right here, which again is this image, I was expecting her to walk into the control room, but this is what I got. Now, I think we'd all agreed that this shot would be completely unusable. There's some stutter steps going on, and aside from the obvious fact that she's walking in the wrong direction, and it's like that vertigo type shot where the camera looks like it's moving in and she's standing still, and then the fact that it looks like she's going to walk straight into that door frame and then she realizes, oops, going the wrong way, need to go this way. That's not a good shot whatsoever. What I will say, however, is that the attire worked out pretty good. You see the zipper right there. She's got the zipper right here. So in terms of consistency, she definitely has the outfit, and it definitely looks like my consistent character Danny. But as you'll see, we're going to run into some problems with that in some of the other generations. In fact, I think we run into that right now. So this is another shot that did not go the way that I thought it would. It says tracking shot as she walks over to the large round window to look out of it. Now, obviously, since this is the image right here and there's nothing else going on in that image, I'm expecting her to walk to this window right behind her. But as it turns out, the AI had other plans, because guess what? Not only did she not go to that window, apparently there's a whole nother window. Who knew? So again, that shot didn't work. She walks over to a window that none of us even knew existed. And again, the other thing that's different is, even though it has the zipper right here, you do not see that zipper track on her outfit. So we do not get consistency from scene to scene in that regard. But this is what's crazy. Before I start to walk through this next generation, it seemed that all of the scenes that looked like this, that had these two images, they all generated that zipper and zipper track line on the outfit. So maybe the AI is storing memory for this scene or something, but literally, as I'm going to show you, all of the scenes that have these two images have the outfit pretty much showing perfectly. But anyway, this was my second attempt at trying this prompt out, and I say tracking shot as she walks into the control room. Now, there's no doubt that the shot looks great, the walk looks good, Danny looks like Danny, and again, we've got that consistency consistent outfit. It's just that it did not follow the prompt as written. And I'm going to show you another example of how I try to fix that in the upcoming generation of that same scene, because what I've started to gather is that since in the image she's facing this way, then maybe the AI only knows to have her walking towards the opposite direction. She's walking in the direction that she's facing. And as I'm going through this, I'm starting to learn how to prompt for this on the fly, as you'll see. Like with this one, which has some kind of speed ramping going on with her walking, which doesn't make any sense, but she does what the prompt says, which is what I just alluded to a minute ago. Since she's facing forward, why not tell the AI to deal with what we need her to deal with that's behind her? So the prompt that I added was tracking shot as she walks to the large round window behind her to look out of it. And again, obviously, since the photo that we added shows her looking forward, this in turn makes her turn around, and everything looks good for the shot except for this speed walking thing. Just kind of looks weird, but she does go to look out of the window. So definitely keep that in mind. Again, I was learning how to prompt for this on the fly. That's why I did so many generations, because as I'm thinking about how the AI is thinking about this, then I'm figuring out how we should prompt for this. Now here's the final iteration that I showed for that control bridge scene. So the prompt says tracking shot as she walks into the control room to speak to her colleague. Now you may be asking, where did you get the idea to prompt for having her speak to her colleague? Well, let's take a look at the original image again. Now I didn't ask MidJourney to do this, but MidJourney added someone in the background there. So I got smart and thought, hey, if there's a guy back here, then maybe the AI will think to have Danny come from the screen, walk back here and talk to that person. But as you can see, the shot didn't turn out that way, and actually that person just completely disappears from the background. But it does show her walking into another room and looks like she's about to talk to someone right there. If maybe the clip was 10 seconds long, then she probably would have started talking to that person. But again, in this instance, I could not get Kling to get her to do what I was asking. And again, obviously guys, I could have continued to prompt over and over again to try to get what I wanted. But again, just testing this out, I did not want to burn through all of my credits, because again, I just upgraded to Kling's Premier plan, which gives you 8,000 credits, when I've got other projects that I want to get to in terms of making cinematic music videos, cinematic narrative filmmaking projects. Didn't want to blow through all my credits in one day. Now here we got a same situation to where I uploaded an image that I generated in MidJourney, which is called a massive spacecraft reactor chamber. Did the same thing with Danny to where we only had her cropped so that we don't get all of the other stuff going on in the image that she's in already. And again, as I noticed as I ran through these prompts, what I want versus what happens on the screen is kind of mismatched, because again, Danny's facing forward in this image and the prompt says the camera tilts up as she stands still while looking up at the reactor. The reactor is clearly behind her and she's doing everything else, but obviously that's not what I wanted. Now again, what I do want to point out that's actually working very well is that this absolutely looks like my consistent character Danny, and the outfit looks consistent. It's got the zipper with the zipper track. The main problem that I'm running into right now is the prompt adherence. So what I'm going to do is quickly show you some of the other generations as I continue to build upon the prompt that I wrote initially to get somewhat close to what I'm looking for. With this instance right here, I say the camera tilts up as she stands still while looking up at the reactor, because again, I thought that maybe just trying again, it may actually do what I needed to do. But again, she's still facing forward. The reactor is behind her. As far as we can tell, she's looking up at the ceiling. I then say the camera tilts up as she stands still while facing the reactor looking up at it, but adding the word facing still didn't solve for the problem. I then wrote the prompt in a way to where I was hoping that it would force the AI to somehow make her to be standing off to the side, because I know AI can hallucinate and do that, and then having her look up at the reactor that way. But again, that still didn't happen. And again, at the expense of sounding repetitive, you can clearly see what the issue is. She's facing forward in the image that we added, and that's where the AI is going to start her off at. Next one, I say the camera tilts up as she turns around to look up at the gigantic reactor behind her. It did somewhat of a half turn, but she's still facing the wrong direction. And then you also get like that little shadow thing going on that you saw there. And again, it still didn't work. This last one was by far the best generation out of all of it, even though she turns slowly like she's looking at the entire room, and then the suit gets jacked up because she has the zipper track on the back. And obviously it makes no sense to have a zipper track on the front of this jumpsuit and then also have it on the back. Like, no woman's wearing a jumpsuit that has her being peeled like a banana. Well, maybe in certain fetishes, I guess. But again, you see that you have to get really specific with the prompts. The prompt says the camera tilts up as she turns around to look up at the giant reactor that is directly behind her. So at some point, the AI's got to get to the point to where we can upload a 3D model of our character and the AI knows what the character looks like from all sides. I'm tempted to try something to where I can add a character sheet, but I'm pretty sure that would just go horribly fucking wrong. So I'm not even going to waste any time on it at this point, because again, it just looks like it's just going off of what it's seeing from the initial image. If Danny in the image was facing the other direction, I don't believe this would be a problem, but I have this image because I'm trying to demonstrate the consistency, and just having her facing the opposite direction, that doesn't tell you that that's actually Danny. But if I pause it, and if I needed a shot of her walking up to this thing and we're looking at her from the back, and then I took that image and uploaded it as an element here, I'm positive the shot would likely work, or the AI would let me down, have the person turn around toward the camera, and then it's someone with a face that I never even imagined, because if this was the only thing the AI was going off of, it's going to make up its own look and face. It won't be this face right here. So I hope that makes sense. And then obviously, in order for that shot to work, this zipper track on the back of this jumpsuit would not need to be present. And just to show you, it definitely got it right at one point. There's definitely no zipper on the back of this jumpsuit. But again, let's move on. Now things start to get interesting because we introduce a new element into the elements feature. Again, the elements feature supports 1 to 4 images, and now we're adding this cool plasma rifle that I also generated in MidJourney. So again, we've got a new scene. This is a botanical garden on the spacecraft, and now I've added this experimental plasma rifle on a white surface. And for the students in the AI Cinematographer's MidJourney Playbook, I've added a prompt for this in the Airtable database. I've actually added a few variations of this plasma rifle, so be sure to check the Airtable database for those prompts. So we've got this garden, which I actually started calling a hydroponic garden. We've got Danny here cropped, and then we've got the plasma rifle here, which I did not crop. But before we can run this prompt, I have to tell you this. Apparently, Kling does not like the word rifle. I took a screenshot of this to show you the error that I was running into, and at first I thought it was because I was using the word hydroponic garden. If you're old enough to remember, around the early days of the internet, there used to be guides on the internet that you could find on how to grow dro, for those of you who know the slang term, and they had these guides on how to grow dro with hydroponic systems. And so I was like, okay, well maybe it thinks I'm talking about that, and that's why it's telling me generation failed, try a different prompt. But then after removing the hydroponic word, I still got this error message. That is when I figured out that Kling does not like the word rifle. And to just show you once more, I also removed the word plasma because I figured it out at that point. I said it's probably rifle. Let me just go ahead and confirm it. And sure enough, the generation failed for the prompt with the word rifle. Therefore, for your knowledge, you cannot use the word rifle, but they will allow you to use the word weapon. So with all that said, this is what that generation looks like. Tracking camera as she cautiously, that should have been cautiously, moves forward, holding her weapon. Didn't like this shot whatsoever. Let's go to the next one. This one was somewhat all right, except for that little squatting thing that she does there and kind of like hesitates before she moves and then she stands up. It's just a weird shot. But the prompt changed to tracking camera as she cautiously walks through the hydroponic garden, holding her plasma weapon. Could have been better. This shot just has her walking forward and then she raises it up like that with one hand. I don't like that. So this shot wasn't that great at all. And then also what I started to notice is that she was not holding it up to her chest. So I added to the prompt holding up her plasma weapon in the ready position, but it still didn't have her holding it up to her chest. It raises up to her chest, but I'm expecting her to be holding the rifle with both of her hands. And again, with this prompt, the AI is trying to follow go with what I'm telling it about her holding up the plasma weapon in the fire position. At that point, it turns into a sword. That didn't work either. This gets somewhat closer to what I'm looking for because, again, as I'm prompting, I'm learning along the way. I say, hey, let's tell it to have her holding the weapon with both hands in the firing position. That's okay. It's not the greatest shot, but let's see how the last one turned out. That turned out much better. And the final prompt for this one was tracking camera shot as she cautiously walks through the hydroponic garden, holding her plasma weapon with both hands in the firing position. So she definitely cautiously walks through there. I would like a more cautious look on her face, but she pauses and then raises the weapon. I was wanting her to already have it in the position as she's walking, but hey, that's not a bad shot at all. Okay, just a few more to run through. Here we have another 3-element combo to where we've got Danny and we've got a jumpsuit and we've got this background. Now, I generated this jumpsuit in Flux, and Kling does have a feature called virtual try-on to where you can take garments and have them fused with your AI model. And I've actually seen others pull this off on X, but for some reason, Kling does not like this jumpsuit and I have a hard time trying to get it to fuse with Danny. Just to show you what I mean, for whatever reason, whenever I uploaded this image, Kling cropped it down like this. So I'm positive that had something to do with it because as you can see, it's not the full jumpsuit and this was the result. Now, I was successful with getting a jumpsuit merged with Danny in the past and it turned out to be just a fluke because I had not been able to replicate that ever since. It definitely can be done, however, as you see this YouTuber right here clearly demonstrating that it worked for him. I've honestly just not spent a lot of time trying to make it work because I just kept running into a bunch of issues when the feature initially came out. But I say all that to say, if you can get it to work in the virtual try-on, then more than likely it would work if you tried it with the elements feature. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, I just put a basic prompt to say camera tracks as she walks, hoping that the AI would pick up on Danny and the jumpsuit and then fuse them together. As you can see, that clearly did not work. And then we complicate things even more by adding the 4th element, because again, you can add up to 4, and I add in the plasma rifle. At one point, it looks like it's going to come together with the plasma rifle at least, but as you can see, there's lots of issues going on with this generation to begin with. Her one gloved thumb right there, and then these things are moving around back here, so I don't know what that's all about, and they're moving on this side as well, and then she moves her hand back and turns it into like a pistol grip. So you got all of those issues along with not having the jumpsuit generate. Just wasn't going to work. And the prompt for this one says camera tracks as she walks holding her plasma weapon with both hands. But again, the shot is pretty much unusable and I could have probably tweaked this over and over again to get it how I needed it, but obviously some things need to happen on the back end to make the AI have a bit more training on prompt adherence, because as we saw in 1.6 before this elements feature dropped, the prompt adherence in Kling was phenomenal. So with this shot, again, we've got something that's going on a lot with this Kling elements feature is this kind of speed ramping to where there's a lot of fast walking and stuff. And I didn't add the plasma rifle to this one because again, I just wanted to try to see if I could get that jumpsuit on her. And we got this and the guy here coming out of, I don't know what that's all about, but whatever. And I was calling these things over here generators because honestly, I don't know what they are. I mean, they look pretty cool, but I don't really have an official name for them. In terms of the actual image that I generated in MidJourney, it just says a futuristic spaceship bridge interior, multi-level command center, holographic displays, and that's not really the bridge that I had in mind, but I liked the shot, so I used it. And maybe the AI assumes that this thing behind her is a generator that she's walking to. But again, the prompt says camera tracks as she walks forward between the generators wearing a black and red futuristic bodysuit, because again, I was hoping that the AI would pick up on this and then fuse it on her. That did not happen. And this was the second generation of the first generation right here. I didn't run them consecutively, but again, as others have alluded to, when you start adding in more elements, at least once you get to 4, it starts getting a bit wonky. And the prompt for this was camera tracks as she walks forward between the generators wearing a black and red futuristic bodysuit. It got some of it right, but again, this doesn't look anything like this right here. It has more red than black and it's not the full length, and it's says holding her plasma weapon with both hands. She's definitely holding something with both hands, but it's not this right here. Now we get to trying to add in other people. And if you remember this image right here, this was the Indian space captain from my recent music video that I did using Kling. And possibly since she's turned to the side and not facing the camera, that's why she looks like this, even though the skin tone is way off. And when I put together this shot, I was assuming the AI would take Danny and put her into this shot right here, because this has the person that I want in the background, and I didn't crop anything in the image itself. Only did a crop as I had been doing for Danny to remove all of the other stuff going on back here to tell the AI to only focus on this person in this image. It somewhat kind of happened. As you can see, this back here is similar to this right here, but it still didn't work out in terms of character consistency. And the simple prompt that I used was static camera as the two women engage in a conversation. Now with this shot, you can clearly see what happened here. I tried to put them in this background, and I even cropped the female character in this one, hoping that the AI would focus on her, which it did, but it still didn't put both of them in this background that I wanted. And again, because the original image was a side shot, then the AI is going to interpret how they think she should look. But if we're being completely honest, these two people do not look exactly the same. And the prompt I used for this one was static camera as the two women engage in a conversation. Maybe adding some details about the background would have had the AI pick up the background, but I feel that it should have done it automatically. But again, this was the output. And with that said, in this particular shot, I did talk about the interior because I took this prompt from the MidJourney prompt that talks about the description of this image right here. So it pulls them into the room, but it does not get the Indian female character correct. As you can see, this person is wearing some yellow pants right there, and this is covering her midsection, which does not happen in the image that I uploaded. And the prompt says static camera as the two women engage in a conversation in the interior of the luxury spacecraft vessel observation deck. I don't know why it had Danny sitting, but maybe if she was standing up, then it would have done a better job with this second character. But again, I spent well over 1,000 credits on all of this testing, and I just wanted to get an idea of what the feature is capable of at the moment, and some of the things that's probably going to trip me up, in that maybe I think about doing things a little bit differently so that I'm not just burning a bunch of credits. But what are your thoughts? Is this a feature that you're excited about? Obviously, there's a lot of potential here. We're definitely moving in the right direction. We are seeing the character remain consistent for the most part, as well as the clothing. There is some changing here and there. For instance, the zipper track is faint in some generations and it's heavier in others. Here it's heavier, and then if she turns around, that's an issue as well, as we saw earlier, to where the back of her jumpsuit had a zipper track. But all in all, we're moving in the right direction in terms of achieving true character consistency as well as background environment consistency. And we're seeing all these things at the very beginning of 2025. So it's safe to say that the rest of 2025 is going to be a banner year for AI filmmaking. But as always, if you got any value from this video, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button and make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any future tips, tutorials, and features update videos like this. So once again, my name is Paul Adonis Maximus. Thanks for checking out this video. Please join me in the next one. Talk soon.